Hunters today is packed with matches, but Matthew, it's time to get a little bit serious, a little bit silly, but we're going to prepare for our first match here. The Boston Uprising haven't even made it to knockout, so they are sort of statistically eliminated as far as I understand. The London Spitfire have only played 2 matches. Those matches were against pretty tough competition in general. So they are 0-2 right now, but they've gone up against some sort of top-tier teams already. There's a chance here that they can make it into knockouts and even further, but they definitely have to start lifting now. And we saw the Boston Uprising yesterday that showed a little bit of grit, a little bit of gumption against that Washington Justice team.
Yeah, they looked good against the Justice. Although in a loss, the Justice, we think, is one of the better teams in the league, not just in the West region. Boston looked to put up a pretty good fight. They've had some tough games throughout this stage, some really close losses. This is a way that they can finish, the May Melee and move on with the rest of their season and end this on a high note. This is a team that we saw actually during the experimental card that they ended up winning, and we spoke to I'm 37. He kind of thought they were about like middle of the pack in the league. Right now, obviously not showing that in terms of wins and losses, but I think with the way they play, they're getting there.
They looked gutted after their loss to the Justice.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say. They really were hoping for much more from that series. And in fairness, it was pointed out, it was closer than the score indicated. I'm 37 was incredible across the whole series. Just some really impressive individual moments. Valentine is still trying to make the Doomfist work on a couple of occasions, and generally it's a little bit difficult for Boston to make good use of him on that hero, but the Tracer looked very good. He combines with Punk nicely on Volskaya, he gets a nice big Pulse Bomb combo, and as Jonathan, I think, highlighted earlier on, Punk, who, by the way, his real name is I think it's 2 great Australian sportsmen's names put together, Leighton Hewitt and Adam Gilchrist. But obviously Punk looks very, very good in terms of his involvement on the Zarya. And look, you got Myunbong and Fate on this roster. The former who said, this is not where it ends for us. Like, we have so much more to show. We've been working harder than anyone else, and we're going to demonstrate that. That's your Uprising in a nutshell here. They'll have time to prepare on that. The Spitfire, obviously, we don't get to see a ton of them, but, outside of the heroics of maybe someone like Hardy like that, look very good individually, and, this team definitely has some bright spots, Matt. They have struggled so far to put up numbers.
Yeah, you really like the tank line. When they came into the league, we thought this would be one of the strengths of the team. They just really haven't played great overall yet. They really haven't kind of hit their stride. You see where the supports are ranked, in our power rankings by IBM. Takes a lot of wins and losses into consideration, and obviously a ton of losses for the team. But I'm really looking at Shax today to put up a strong performance. Like you mentioned, the Boston Uprising don't like to play a lot of the Tracer. They opt for some more Doomfist stuff, even Echo in the mix. Let's see Shax on his Tracer for the London Spitfire really try and go to work.
Yeah, this is a team that's gone up against the Outlaws, and then sort of further back from that, the Gladiators. So their start to the league has definitely been a baptism of fire for this roster, who has a lot of expectations on it and isn't quite the same as that British Hurricane roster that was hyped up so much. So, obviously Danad's not on this team, nor is Sparker, so a little bit different. And people were maybe expecting this to be the stronger of the European rosters, but putting them side by side with the Paris Eternal, for example, a lot of people are very mixed on their opinions. So this series, a chance here for the London Spitfire to stay alive at the May Melee Qualifiers and make it to knockouts. And they're looking for a clean 1-2 punch here against the Uprising, who frankly have shown us they've got some backbone.
Yeah, now we will see Sparker probably later in the season. He is on the London Spitfire roster, just not of age yet. So they do have him. A lot of fans are really excited about him. Obviously, just have to wait a little bit if you're a London Spitfire fan to see him.
I mean, he's dominating in contenders, so good.
Yeah. Right, you kind of think him and Shaq together, that could be crazy good. So, Boston Uprising, we'll see what they decide to come out with. I'm really kind of looking at them to start this match off and really kind of put a stamp on it, that they are the team that we all thought they were at the beginning of the season. We expected this team to be in contention for knockouts, right? We expected the Boston Uprising to be pretty good. Obviously not the case, but this should be a winnable game for them. For them to drop this here would be really alarming for the rest of the way. So Valentine will come out on the Echo, like I mentioned. They've been playing a bunch of the Echo, so they'll play Echo Tracer. So it'll be I'm 37 on the Tracer here going up against Shax.
Immediately, so the Uprising just established a little bit of high ground here. Note that it's actually going to be a Zenyatta and a Brigadier here for the Spitfire against the Winston setup. Normally we see that reserved for Wrecking Ball style composition, so see what the read has been on that here. The Spitfire obviously have a Wrecking Ball of their own, and the Uprising might find it a little bit hard to actually kill Hardy without the Discord Orb available. London will start the cap on the point though now, and Valentine's being harassed a little bit here as I'm37 steps up, and Blase already gets blown up. I think he tried to perch on the high ground himself.
He ended up dropping down towards the point, which I was a little bit confused by, because they had to bring in the Zen up on the high ground, and you figured that's where you would have put your Ashe to try and control that, but he ends up dropping with the Tracer, and they go to the low ground as we do have a pause here. So, you know, in typical Danny Lim fashion, I believe, I know completely jinxed it, although
yes.
Danny...
It was only Sunday that was supposed to be technical issues, right? Does it count? Does it count if it's not on the broadcast side, and if it's more on like the?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how we do Danny's rankings. All I know is that I've moved Danny to the bottom of my fictional power rankings that are driven by my own motivations, where I am at the top.
Gotcha. So, so you're at the top.
Danny's
of your own power rankings.
Yeah, me and Carl at the top.
Yeah,
then me and you.
Oh, so it's still caster pair ranking. So you have taken Carl.
Yeah.
But who says Carl wants to be your
Bren,
commentator?
I mean, I've created Carl, so obviously he would.
Oh, I see. Right.
After
so
that,
Carl doesn't have rights.
Bren and Josh. Yeah, and then I don't know. I'd probably put Vicky in there next. I don't want to rank Josh. Just
sure,
I mean,
sure.
He always loses my games. It's ridiculous. Now whenever we play.
We won 4 in a row last night with him. You, me, him, Paddock. We won.
Really?
Yeah, we did. We won 4 in a row. Yes. And then you left, and then I got boom. I got boom. Still play, by the way, PogChamp. Anyway, we're going to be jumping back into game in just a moment. And here we are, unpaused and ready to roll here. And yeah, a weird start to the fight here. The Spitfire? Okay.
Yes, London now looks to be trying to get back to this high ground, like I mentioned. So they'll have the Diva, Escort, both supports. You have the Ashe, but because you've lost this first fight, Stand 1 can control this space as I'm37 goes through the back stairs, slams the Pulse Bomb onto Blase.
Blase's done nothing so far in this round, Matt. He gets picked off first by Valentine, and then I'm37 steps up and has a tilt at him. The London Spitfire have barely gotten out of their own spawn, let alone contest the point properly at this point. And now that Anna Winston sort of ult cycling setup is ready for the Uprising.
The only way that the London Spitfire can make way with this composition is getting the high ground, protecting the Zen and the Ashe, and letting them, land the Discord and some shots down on some of these tanks. But well, you're all like going together. You have the Brig, you have the Diva there, the Zen, but they're not able to get the Ashe into position. So Shax'll win a 1v1 here against I'm37. Now maybe you can get the Ashe and the Zen into position.
Yeah, the Boston Uprising kind of made a mess of that situation. Nano boost for Valentine, who gets nothing. Okay, finally now finding Shax here with the sticky bombs. Maybe a bit of stall, maybe a bit more than that. Telex has gone down. Now the duplicate here for Valentine becomes Diva, and Reaper is taken down. Blase has the coach gun away, and really Boston kind of lose 2 players early in that fight, and with Valentine's duplicate to stay in there. That's pretty heinous.
Yeah, I mean, the Transcendence a little bit early for the London Spitfire, and when they get to the point, Valentine has the duplicate. He has also the nano boost, like you mentioned at that time, and then they use Rally on the point. Just a lot of survivability.
Oh!
Get players back on the respawn as I'm37 just deletes Shax there and takes out Hadi. This has been all Boston thus far.
London Spitfire's DPS are getting absolutely gapped early on here as the Uprising. Again, they built a little bit of momentum yesterday, and they look to carry it through here. Wow, how one-sided was that?
Yeah, I don't feel like they really even gave the DPS an opportunity to make a difference, right? They never were able to keep control of that high ground, get set up on top of it, and then even with that, they have just a low HPS output, right? Just low healing. So we'll see London switch the comp up here, double shield with a Lucio with the Batiste in the mix. We'll see what they end up doing, whether it's the Hangzhou May, you can play even the May McCree, where we see a lot of teams. The Boston Uprising looks to be committed to this double bubble setup, so Valentine going over to the Echo.
Teleporter to start with here from I'm37, but the Tracer looked quite good earlier on, and he'll stick to that for now. The London Spitfire, big mix-up. So Reinhardt and Sigma in a rush comp. What is this about?
Well, it's another variation of the double shield. This one just plays a little bit slower, and you can tell they want to play a bit slower because they have the Hangzhou in the mix. McCree would signal they want to play a little bit more aggro, a little bit more brawly, but Hangzhou doesn't excel in those types of situations, so they can play these off angles with the Sigma in the Hangzhou and poke at range.
Normally you want a bit of speed to deal with an Echo composition, because obviously, you know, she can blow people up if you let her just hang around the fight too long. Sometimes you want to try and use that speed to end it quickly, but that's not the plan for the London Spitfire here. So Valentine won't have a whole lot to really keep him honest right now, outside of Shaxx pressuring him and maybe Ripper with you know, an amplification matrix at times. 37 goes down first though, so that's a great start for London. They do use an immortality field to do so. See Valentine pressured out of line of sight as well. London have some numbers here, and you can see Molfig is playing this off angle now, away from Hardy, giving an extra point of protection here, and that's where the amp matrix goes, behind the Sigma.
And with the way the composition works, the Boston Uprising decide to try and push over towards the Rhine. You have the May there, the Lucio, not able to push in deep enough to get those kills. The Hangzhou also putting down some damage. And then you saw it when some of the players tried to exit for Boston, they're running into just the poke damage from the Sigma at range, the Batiste, the Amp Matrix comes down. So London able to win that first fight. You see where they're positioned now. The London Spitfire actually sitting on the back of the point, so playing really passive, playing around the Sigma Rhine combo.
They know that there's going to be a Winston Nano Boost or combo likely coming through, and that wasn't even a damage boosted fire strike. Oh dear. Stand 1 Matt has to do something about this now. Primal and Nano at the same time. No, he sort of layers those entirely now. Fancies what Winston can do in this form, and Hardy is black and blue, beaten to absolute pulp. And now the rest of the Uprising can push forward here. Stand 1 making use of all those resources invested.
Well, it was a way to split the team off without actually having a May. They used the Primal Rage, they displaced the Reinhardt, they able to focus down the Sigma, the rest of the team. You saw when Stand 1 goes in there, uses the Primal, he pushes the Rhine out, nobody else goes over to try and finish off Hadi right away. They end up pushing on through, trying to finish the rest of the team. So now with Boston in control of the point, they also have control of like the tempo of the game, because now the London Spitfire, they need to be the team aggro, and that's why they switch Molfig off the Sigma, because you don't have the luxury of playing passive in this situation.
Valentine from above. Okay, focusing beam gets Hardy extremely low, and if he escapes it, it'll be a miracle. No, Myunbong makes sure that's not possible. Death from afar there as Yana gets involved in some of the damage, and Boston maintain control of the point here. Blase, I mean, a journeyman in the Overwatch League, this is his third team now, going up against his first roster, of course, in the Uprising. Again, like, really rough first round, but we know Blase terrorizes sort of top 500 ranked on so many different heroes, so we'll see what he can do with the Blizzard here.
You remember Kellick's a member of the Boston?
Absolutely. Punk here with Graviton Surge. Bubble given over. Look at that charge, though. I mean, gets nothing for the charge thrown over, and now 37 goes down. Punk needs to find a way to do some more damage soon, but he saves the personal bubble here, so really only wants to use it when he feels like his life is threatened. That'll be about now. Valentine tries to cover the Reinhardt, gets frozen up there, taken down. Punk removed by the micro rockets, and Stand 1. Good timing on the Primal to get the reset on the jump pack. Won't be enough, though.
I mean, he was halfway down the hall, ends up popping the Primal just to get back up onto the point.
How worthwhile is that?
Will end up flipping this. I mean, you got probably an extra, what, 7 to 8% on the point, which at 89% you win this fight, you flip the point. You're really like last fight territory, so you're in a very good spot. As Punk with a grab, this could be huge. You just get a good grab off here, you may be able to win the fight off of that.
Shaxx looking for an individual pick. A big one will be good. A Brig or a Zarya, something like that. Stun! Pulse Bomb thrown down. No effect from that. Here's the Graviton Surge. 37 gets his Pulse Bomb eaten as well. So good presence of mind from Molfig there to eat that up despite being inside the grab. Here comes the push. The Moira really just propelling the Spitfire forward with the speed boost, and they are ready to brawl. They're kitted out for close quarters combat.
So the big Pulse Bomb eat there was huge. Sound Barrier also massive for Kellex as 37 ends up dying here to Shaxx.
Shaxx is winning this matchup.
Because you would have had a rally for the Tracer there. You know, the armor packs are massive on Tracer. As Stand 1 gets on the point, the contest gets really low. They're going to use the rally to stand up.
The Uprising need to try and push forward here. Myunbong will have a nano boost here for Stand 1, but Punk's already gone down. 5 players left for the Uprising here, and they're waiting for a charge. No! Oh, Stand 1 wasn't in line of sight of Myunbong at all. They couldn't get him into the fight. Myunbong said, I've got a nano, but I can't see you at all. He was around the corner. And the Spitfire really take advantage of how split the Uprising were playing there now. They've got the numbers, Coalescence in play. Duplicate on Diva just to buy some time as Punk returns on the Wrecking Ball here with the rest of the Spitfire looking plenty healthy after that Coalescence. Oh, Valentine, was that intended? I'm not sure. He goes over the edge after coming out of Duplicate. Not ideal if you're trying to stall, I'll be honest, Matt.
No, it was definitely not planned. So when he ends up getting C-mech'd right on the edge, guts the self-destruct, uses it, flips out of the mech, goes down into the hole, doesn't come back to being Echo fast enough. So that one pick on 37 is huge, as Shaq's really starting to come alive on Tracer now. So what do you do here if you're London? It looks like they want to go back to this slower style of play with the Sigma in the mix. This is going to be good if they get control of the point early like they did before. If they don't, I fully expect to see them bust out that the Diva comp yet again.
London will definitely make use of the speed boost to get to the point first. The first fight's so important here. I wonder what I'm37 gets done against 2 shields on this McCree. Seems kind of annoying, frankly. Oh, so the Spitfire also have a McCree of their own. I feel that. And again, that speed boost gets them a little further up on the map here. More real estate point control early.
Let's just think about how much more survivable the London Spitfire composition is. With the Sigma, the May, the McCree right at 225, and then also having the Batiste with the Immortality Field is Shax will take out Valentine's head there. That's a good start to the fight.
Absolutely domed. Shax gets hit with a shield bash, if I'm not mistaken, but there was an Immortality Field in play already, and the Spitfire are playing... On the face of it, it just looks a lot more robust. It looks like it's got a lot more contingency plans, you know. Immortality Field huge in that previous fight there. Shax may have been pressured.
Well, what they're doing is they're reducing the impact of, let's say, like a 3 for the Boston Uprising. And then they're also making life extremely difficult for Stand 1, who has to jump into a lot of CC, a lot of HP. They're not able to burst anybody down. That's why they put Valentine on the Echo. Nano boost here as he's able to finish off Shax.
Straight on in there as well. Shax, I think, got a face full of the sticky bombs that really set it up. It's an interesting choice of Nano boost target, and we'll talk about that in a moment here as Hardy's shield gets brought pretty darn low. He falls back even with the amplification matrix in play. Is dicey. Valentine, can he fly high enough to get away from the Blizzard? He can, and now he's able to harass Reaper in the back line, who as a result has to drop down. Doesn't have line of sight to his tanks.
Definitely a little bit of an odder nano boost target.
Yeah.
There's just some cleanup comes in for the Boston Uprising.
Is it because Stand 1 has Primal right now? Like he doesn't need to build it?
No, I actually think it's because when they dive in and they put some damage down, they're not able to finish anybody off. But with a nano boost on the Echo, the damage that the Echo puts down, plus the focusing beam on
so you can like burst the target down quickly, right?
Yeah, and that's what they exactly did there, right? They were able to get the McCree without even using the focusing beam.
But if you don't hit those sticky bombs, you don't get a kill, I don't think. Even if you're nano boosted there, not with all those shields.
Right, but I mean, at this level of play though, like with how London's playing together, everybody close up, you imagine your Echo is going to be able to put down some damage to at least one player, especially with just like Winston cleave damage, you're going to get a player.
Oh, the back cap there, that was odd. The Spitfire are really split right now, and yeah, they get the point back for a little bit, but
they have players everywhere.
They're staggered now. Very staggered.
They end up using Gravitic Flux during that as well to try and catch Stand 1 in the spawn area, and they're not able to finish him off. They had Hottie all the way back by the mega health pack on the side of the map of the Boston Uprising. Kellex was over there as well. They're able to flip and just stop the percentage getting earned, but it kind of goes for nothing.
And they give a lot of ult percent.
Obviously not able to hold the point. Yeah.
I don't know. All right, Nano Boost here is available again for Myunbong. I wonder if it goes to Stand 1 again. Okay, so yes, because he needs to build Primal, or he can use it to build Primal. Look how quickly he's done so. He's going to have it almost straight away. Graviton Surge comes in. Immortality Field has to be used in the Primal. Okay, Stand 1 just unable to hit Q, but it doesn't matter because the Uprising is still here in numbers. Molfig, durable as he is, will go down to the sticky bombs, and the Uprising are in pole position, Matthew.
Yeah, and that's a really rough fight for the London Spitfire. They ended up using Shatter. They ended up using the sound barrier there. And not able to live through all of that. So Primal plus Duplicate here for the Boston Uprising, looking to close it out. It's looking good for Boston.
Duplicate of the Wrecking Ball here. Valentine says, yes, please. I smell some cheese and I'm looking for it. Thrown to the backside now. Blizzard, Valentine able to roll away because of that extra mobility. Briefly slowed, but still able to get out. And that primal rage that Stand 1 built in that previous fight does not go to waste. Ripper is separated from the rest of his team and eventually brought down. Molthy dies to the focusing beam there. Valentine getting a ton of value on this Echo here. The Spitfire were playing the creep, but they switched off of it. And now the Boston Uprising are in a position that cannot be assailed. Map number 1 goes to the Uprising.
They make some really good adjustments. The double bubble wasn't working as effective early on against the double shield comp when they wanted to play really static, the London Spitfire. But some adjustments here for the Boston Uprising. They play Ashe, which can play at range. She can get high ground a little bit easier, obviously, than McCree. And then also the Echo for the burst damage. Able to take out one target rather quickly, help that Winston when he goes in. So really good adjustments here for the Boston Uprising.
Pleasing start for the Uprising. A little bit of a shaky one in that second round as we saw a little bit more from the Spitfire, but in general, it definitely seems like there's a gulf between the two of them. I'm not just talking about the Atlantic Ocean. We'll be back after the break, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be map number 2 here. Boston go up 1-0.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Indeed, we help people get jobs. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
That's right, fam. The May Melee tournament is almost here. So make sure to get all your Week 3 qualifier picks in. We're pretty sure that 76.5% of you can beat Custer, so go to pick'em.overwatchleague.com to play. And yeah, I mean, yeah, good on you, Custer. That's a great result, mate. Really, really proud.
It's pretty good for Sky, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
The guy, I mean, you know, it's like, it's not as if they've, you know, paid good money to, you know, I don't know what's going on here. That's cool.
Paid actors, yeah. he's just acting like he knows what's going on.
Here's our power rankings with IBM Watson. This is coming into week 3, right? And a bit of a shake-up here. I mean, look at Guangzhou go down 5 spots, but more importantly, we sort of get an idea of who our sort of top cut of teams are now. And you can see that, you know, the top 10 for, in general, looking pretty competitive. And somehow the Dragons, now this is, again, this is before their games last night, but the Dragons down at number 12 is a yikes.
But even then, they lose some maps at Hangzhou yesterday.
Yep, it's a best of 5.
Great. Yep. Yeah, I mean, didn't look that great over the course of the season thus far, so doesn't look to be the dominant Shanghai Dragons of last year, where Philly, now in APAC, really looking good early on, which I don't think a lot of people thought, because making some adjustments to the roster.
It creates an awkward conundrum for Philly fans who maybe want to see, like, you know, the Shockwaves, the Funny Astros, the Pocos sort of come back into this roster. It's like, well, you know, is it, yeah, to what degree do we really want to push this? Hybrid obviously comes in for Shax. It's a conversation for another time here. So a switch up in the DPS side here as the actual Brit comes on in. And obviously, if you're just joining us here, it's a slow start for the London Spitfire. The show gives a decent crack, I suppose, on well in general, but a lot of situations where both of these teams are getting very, very split, and it just looks like the Uprising get more value out of the mobility and just the burst damage potential of the double bubble comp. And Yunbong has just been so very, very good at facilitating, not only now as just stand 1, but also Valentine with these nano boosts. So the nano echo is such a weird topic, especially when she's not being damage boosted,
right.
But, you know, Valentine gets value at it, so fair enough. Now, the Uprising back in our inaugural season actually managed to get the fastest time bank on this map ever against the Dallas Fuel. Now, I just want to remind everyone that, first of all, they were actually very good back in that first season. Secondly, this was before the mechanic change for defenders. That meant that they had to wait the full, 10 seconds to respawn, even if, it was on point B, right? So now, defenders respawn a bit faster in those sort of second point scenarios.
Don't make excuses for the old Dallas Fuel. I bet you Scott played in that match for Dallas.
Yeah, he might have. He might have played flex. He might have played flex support in that matchup, actually.
Yeah, he may have just used Transcendence at the start of the match and then never got another. One
you mean Horizon? He did that twice, right? He did it. He actually did it on Horizon Lunar Colony as well.
We covered for him once on Route 66.
Yeah.
You're like.
Yeah, and now we don't give him the benefit of the doubt ever anymore. He had one chance. Anyway, the Uprising will be on defense here. Okay, so
that was it.
So this is interesting, right? Why? Can we summarize? Can we summarize selecting Sigma over Diva in a short amount of words here? Because obviously it's a variation of the Rush comp, yeah. But we talked about it a little bit on that last map. But why do you want this?
It's not. It's not really a variation on the Rush comp. I would say it's way more of a sustainable, please come to us and let us.
So is it a variation on Orisa Sigma then, and not the Rush comp?
In a way, yes. Okay. In a way, it is. Where Reinhardt's just really burly right now, does pretty good damage. Shatter, obviously, a great ultimate. Yeah, and even if you had Supercharger, although Supercharger, statistically, has always been one of the better ultimates in the league. Not a lot of benefit with the team that you have here. So London, they'll make a swap though. So they go back to that spawn. They're originally on some Widowmaker stuff. They have Hybrid playing the Symmetra. Now we potentially go back, make some changes again. So Hybrid goes back. Now they'll play McCree and they'll play the Diva. So this is a little bit more like your standard Rush, right? We'll see how Boston Uprising plays against this. Can they kite it? Can they stay away? Can they just poke and chip at range?
Can Valentine deal with a composition that's kind of designed to make his life really difficult? That's what I want to know. He has tried to play Doomfist a little bit over the last couple of weeks and mixed results. Generally, yeah, he's looked a little bit better, on the Echo, for example, and the Tracer. But we'll see just how aggressive he wants to play.
Look at stand 1. He doesn't have to put his shield up at all. He can just kind of stand behind the pillars. He has the Sigma there to just poke down damage. And
what?
Yeah, I mean, you just have enough damage that just kind of pokes and chips, and you walk through so much of it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, once you get the advantage, right, you just speed right into them. You also have the speed boost to just disengage if you want to here.
Stagger there, of course, on the D.Va. And you notice that your Valentine goes in early, but there's like an immortality field that gets deployed really early on. It's almost like it's designed to facilitate Valentine looking for an early kill. And maybe he forces one there from Reaper as well. Just plays back, stays safe. Finds a kill with the fist cannon. I'm going to call it that. 2 minutes 19. So, I mean, we shaved off a lot of time here, and Spitfire are close to an air matrix, and so are the Uprising. They come here.
They spend a ton of time, London, going back and forth to the spawn. Like that was our first fight. I mean, they spent like, I feel like it was like, 20, 30 seconds back and forth as Ant Matrix for both teams. Boston gives up the bridge here, and they'll drop down. But because they had their own Ant Matrix, it's not like London's just going to walk into it, right? So they had to back up as well.
Stanwine has now that shatter, but he obviously has to contend with 2 shields. I'm 37 speeding on in. Nothing from that Deadeye. So we rotate through some ultimates. Gravitic Flux could be a big one here. Hybrid's Deadeye, though, comes first. Kinetic Grasp from Punk, then he has to drop down. Hybrid goes a little low, but is healed up, and there it is. Quite the flux, if I do say so myself. And yeah, that would have been tough for Hybrid at it if he didn't get that immortality field. That's now been removed. Stand 1, though, out at sea completely.
Oh, that is...
Sound Barrier was there for Faith as well. Doesn't match the Spitfires. It comes a little bit later. It's a 1-for-1, but no Reinhardt for the Uprising here, and Hardy being pressured now by Valentine. He's another Ant Matrix, Matt.
Oh, and I mean, Punk was in such a difficult position, but Valentine comes in, able to pick up 2. The Punk gets kind of booped over by where like the health pack is over in the side room, but there's so much help there for the Boston Uprising. That is really only, Mitch, our second fight of this point. I mean, London may finish their attack with only 3 cracks at this, which is kind of tough.
Make no mistake, this is glacial pace from the Spitfire. They really try and, I don't know, get the almonds flowing in their brain to try and find out how to best counter this composition, but they have...
Another Ant Matrix here is this will be a D.Va bomb from the side that lands on top of the May wall, doesn't connect with anything. They're able to pressure down stand 1. Deadeye, though, in the mix is... Yeah, it might be enough taking out stand 1. It seems to be a very slow, meticulous pace, though, here for London.
I mean, Maywall again for Blase. He has Blizzard available now, and Hybrid's just been able to ruin Valentine and Faith. Kind of what the composition was intended to do initially here. Stand 1, trying to play some pinball. Unfortunately, he gets the tilt. And a little bit of Spitfire managed to take point A. Again, right at the end of the round. So it takes about 4 minutes to do so here. And fortunately for them, though, they're able to cycle some key ultimates there, and they're getting good value out of the Maywall. Myeonbong, as good as he is, and he is extremely good, 2 fights in a row, fails to keep Stand 1 alive with Immortality Field. That's big.
Yeah, it's huge. It kind of allows London to take this point as you see the position that Punk playing from just can spam these chokes down with Sigma. Just chunk them down, chunk them down. Don't even have to rush. This will be the Ant Matrix here from Ripa, as some players from Boston a little bit further up, caught in an odd spot.
Yeah, I mean, Stand 1 specifically, is there an Immortality Field? No, okay, Gravitic Flux to keep him out of trouble. Immortality Field used instantly from the Spitfire now, but there's going to be a Blizzard right there, and here's the Deadeye from Valentine, 1 from I'm37 as well. But Blase's looking all frosty down range. Stand 1 has fallen. Valentine out of the picture now, and very quickly Punk trying to beat a hasty retreat, but he gets chased down. Kinetic Grasp, or no, he cannot stay alive. The Spitfire had some key ultimates there. The Blizzard really quite big, but here comes a Wrecking Ball from Stand 1 to try and keep this party going. Nice flash to Valentine. Good use of that so the defense matrix to protect Hybrid from Valentine. And now a Sound Barrier to double down. The Spitfire, they mean business. They want this point B, and they need it now. Stand 1 comes back to the point. Myeonbong actually able to stay alive here after using an Ant Matrix, and losing Hybrid and Ripper could have been a problem. But the Spitfire, they persist.
Yeah, Faith not able to get back after him and Stand 1 push a little bit further out, get some kills. But there's some C9s in the chat coming in from the London players. It's a bit harder for Stand 1 in that type of composition when he doesn't have the D.Va. The defense matrix is huge to kind of keep that Reinhardt alive. Without it, you're really reliant on the speed to get the Rein out of position, out of troubling positions, or the immortality field. And Boston did a pretty good job for a bit. And actually, we don't even know how great of a job it really was. London just didn't really get many attacks. I mean, they only had to prevent 2 attacks really on point A before we were even in overtime. But once they're able to break through that, London's able to take the whole map. We'll see what they do here on offense, Boston, if they decide to go with the Diva in the mix. London, they'll play the Sigma again. Really good at poke from a distance, don't want to play rush, don't want to be the aggro team, allow players to play at range. They'll actually use a hybrid on the Hangzhou here.
So here's how it goes down. I'm seeing Faith, one of the players in position to sort of stop this cap, but he's on the wrong side of the wall. No checkpoint Charlie for you, my friend.
Hangzhou's pretty good on defense here. We've seen the Outlaws run it with Happy and get up to that high ground, put damage down from above. So Boston will go with the Doomfist again. The Doom is an interesting pick. I think you probably get a little bit more value out of the May, and I think it actually helps the Reinhardt a little bit more if you're playing the May. You have the May wall to split off. You also just have May as like a tanky hero in general to play side by side with the Reinhardt. Well. Yep. A lot of uses of May.
Being able to pressure the enemy Reinhardt like that is... I mean, you cut off the enemy Batiste. The enemy Batiste has to use Exo Boots to pop over the wall to pressure your Ryan. And if you have a McCree, you can kill that Batiste before he hits the ground. I mean, that's when he's vulnerable against hit scan, is when he uses Exo Boots in general. Double-edged sword, I'm afraid. So there it is. I mean, exactly that. Myeonbong over the wall throws that immortality field. Isn't punished, of course, but still has a lot of healing to do after the fact, right? Here's the Ant Matrix. Used very, very early on, but immortality field comes later for London. They get that second immo field, and as a result, they're able to just roll the Uprising.
Yeah, I mean, that Ant Matrix gave you absolutely nothing there for Boston. Maybe they thought that the London Spitfire were going to jump down and challenge it a bit more, and you could get, you know, this sneaky Ant Matrix in there, take a few players out, but does nothing. I mean, if you're able to neutralize the Doomfist here, you're in a lot of trouble if you're the Boston Uprising. I mean, if you're London, just don't let them get in there. Just get these insta-kills. That'll be a Dragon. This will split players off. You see, as soon as the Dragon comes in, speed boosts on forward, they're able to take out I'm37.
Kellex looking pretty clean now. He led the Spitfire forward to follow up on that Dragon. And you'll see that I'm37 has a little bit of walking to do to get back to the rest of his team. Hybrid in a good spot to sort of punish this now, and we'll see. Yeah, there's no... Okay, so they'll actually keep I'm37 in an off angle, which is very risky, extremely dangerous for the McCree. Shatter, he just pushes straight past that now, but good defensive gravitic flux from Molfig. That is timed so well. Stair 1 falls to the Blizzard, Pump goes down. And that is a good response. The Spitfire look very good when they're playing defensively here, playing reactively. And again, that off-angle McCree from I'm37 looks pretty bad.
Hello.
And this is where Boston, I think, probably has their best opportunity that we've seen thus far. Sound Barrier, Ant Matrix, Gravitic Flux, Deadeye. The London Spitfire really have nothing to work with, as Blase now comes back on the Doomfist. So, not playing the May here. To swap over to the Doom, maybe did it just to get back into the fight a bit faster.
Blase will remain hidden for now. Maybe just he'll go across to the other side and get a very large seismic slam. Plenty of shielding for that. Yep. Oh, tries to do just that. Stunned instantly there. Might have been a flashbang, but I'm37 fights 2 now with the Deadeye. This is the opening here for the Boston Uprising, and they take full advantage. Hardy just gets pinned up against the wall there, and the Spitfire, again, tried to be proactive in that case and, you know, work for control of the high ground, but the Uprising were ready, Matt.
And I wonder why they decided to play up on that high ground, London. You don't have... let's say if Boston would have went to the point, I mean, you would have had the 1 drop completely, but 2 could you have that gets use out of the high ground, where... It's a very odd spot where as soon as, like, if Boston got up there, let's say London dropped with everybody alive, you would have just had the same result with a big Deadeye, as this will be an Ant Matrix from Myeonbong. Boston tries to move in, take some position on the point.
Oh, the Spitfire have to be careful. Yes, it has to be a sound barrier that was almost cancelled from Kellex there. Oh. All right, well, Meteor Strike's going to deal with Hardy pretty easily, but Valentine gets caught, and another great defensive gravitic flux from Molfig. Really, really solid play from him.
I mean, his gravitic fluxes, both of them have been massive, right? He uses the first one on the point A by the bridge, able to get 2. That time stopped what looked like could have been a pretty good push from the Boston Uprising. So
you're trying to get value with gravitic flux against like a Lucio Doom comp, which is not so easy. A lot of the time, maybe you settle for 1 or 2 players caught in that one, but huge impact from Molfig. And the Spitfire want to play a little bit fall further forward on defense now. This is where it gets a little bit dicey. The maneuvering. Oh, Hardy, another big classic Earth Shatter from the man. And yes, that will send the Uprising packing once more.
And I wonder when you start to mirror these types of compositions. No,
that shouldn't be happening.
Not a chance. No, I mean a few kills there at the end, but when you mirror these two compositions, I wonder, you know, the difference between the Hangzhou and the McCree. And McCree is really effective in these types of compositions when you can get, you know, close together. You can have some more fights in close proximity. But if these compositions are based around, you know, poking, maybe Doomfist going in, trying to disrupt the Sigma or another player behind the shield, pick up a kill, the Hangzhou's pretty effective here at just bursting these shields down and just damage at range.
Blase drops in, Immortality Field deployed to keep him alive, ostensibly, but Valentine is going to be the better Doom right now. Getting rid of Hardy is quite big. This means the Spitfire have to split out of line of sight. They're trying to stay together for the most part, but Blase's got nowhere to go at all. Here's that defensive Gravitic Flux once more. Immortality Field, it's not there, but it's not needed. No one on the Uprising goes down, and it's a good Deadeye to get rid of Reaper here. Good start now for the Uprising with a minute 23 on the clock. They're behind in time bank, but they don't seem to be too bothered here, Matt. In a good position to get a competitive setup for the next run through. Hardy charged out. Here's that Air Matrix on the other side of the map, but Gravitic Flux is going to make it absolutely useless. And here's the Dragon Strike. No one really caught in that one either. Stan 1 tries to harass Molfig down as he gets a bit of adaptive shielding, keeps him alive a little longer, but it's not quite enough. Myeonbong sits back now. Air Matrix available for the Boston Uprising, but he gets limited value from it as well, outside of the healing boost to his teammates. And the Spitfire here will trickle in one at a time. How do they handle this situation? Valentine drops in. Myeonbong goes down. That's big. That could be a game changer.
They've been able to stay alive a little bit longer than expected because Kellex came back and ended up having a sound barrier out of this after some good stall by Blase. So you have Molfig in the mix.
Oh my!
Hybrid picking up kills here on the Tracer. It looks like London's going to be able to get a hold.
Oh, that is a gut punch for the Boston Uprising. That was so close. Look at that. 86.2%. And they'll lose a bit of that now to 66. That's a huge sound barrier timing for Kellex there, and getting Myeonbong, just picking him off as Blase. That's big. The Uprising, they really lack sustain in the fight after that point, and they don't have any key support ultimates, let alone defensive ones left. Hardy is well positioned to look for another big game-warping Earth Shatter here. I'm 37. Oh, okay! That is a huge stick, but somehow still Blase stays alive with the shielding, and... oh, there's no touch. The Uprising, they run out of time, Matt. I mean... another C9 question mark in the chat. Fair call. Look, well, you are the London Spitfire. Fair call.
I believe what happened there is you had one player from Boston get a touch. I believe it was Valentine on the Tracer. And then ended up using the recall. And there was a hybrid in the backline of London, and some players stopped and turned. Both tanks for Boston were trying to make their way towards the point. And it may have been a Lucio boot that knocked them either off of the bridge or back a little bit, potentially even like a Reinhardt, because you did have Hottie there, potentially like a charge into each other and a knockdown, but just both tanks not able to make it to the point there for the Boston Uprising.
Fantastic map from Molfig, particularly. Sigma looks very good defensively there. And that's what nets the London Spitfire on map. Now we're drawn in the series, so stick around now. Brief break for the players, and we'll be back with map number 3.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
With our regional knockouts looming here, we're working through the tail end of many of our qualifier games here in the May Melee, and this is one that has consequences. If the London Spitfire lose this match, they will be ineligible to compete in knockouts. If they win, there's a chance that they can still duke it out, but it's not certain. The Uprising, though, their fate is already sealed, along with the Titans. They're here now. Again, just to show what they're made of is Matt, Myunbong made a pretty strong tweet. He said, we're made of a lot more than this. We're going to show you. But I tell you what, it was Mulfig showing them on Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, it'd be a brutal loss here for the Boston Uprising, as Shax will come in for Blase for the London Spitfire. But for the Boston Uprising, like I mentioned earlier in the series, you expect it to be a mid-table team, at least in the West, and contend surely to at least make it into knockouts, your top 6. To start off 0-3, potentially to start off 0-4, especially, losing to a team with London who hasn't won a game yet. It'd be a brutal start. And the start to the season sometimes can really kind of seep into other parts with, kind of confidence issues and whatnot moving forward. So if you're Boston, you want to end this tournament on a high note, right? You want to end winning a game here, proving to people, hey, we took a very good Justice team and we made it a tough series. We ended up winning our final game, and we're going to come back and be a strong team, like we know we can.
So this is where that particular road continues, I suppose, if you want to talk about it, beginning with that Justice match. It will be Blizzard World in map number 3. And we'll see what the Uprising have to show us on defense here. Seeing the Zen always makes us think they're expecting a ball.
That's not a great stat. Boston's never won a hybrid map against London. 0-6 all time. So
these franchises look vastly different every year, to be fair.
Yeah, I would say both of these teams have looked a little bit different over the years. So maybe history won't repeat itself again. It's already repeated 6 times, but maybe it won't happen to 7.
I could
seven
hear
times the charm.
I can hear a tint of disbelief in your voice. Perhaps you don't
What do you mean?
Perhaps you don't think that the Uprising can make it happen here. Maybe you feel like history has already been written and is ready to repeat itself. No one beats us 7 times in a row, Matt.
No,
Surely
nobody beats it. That's what I'm sure Huck is like, look, we've lost the first 6. Nobody takes the 7.
They had him in the first half. Let's see about the second here, the Uprising. Okay, so they have Zaya Ball here. Okay.
Just thinking what a competitor Huck is. He's probably like, we shouldn't have lost the first 6. What the hell are you guys doing?
I mean, the guy would froth in his mouth back in his heyday if he'd lost.
Oh my god, incredible! Yeah, it was awesome. Both teams running ball here, so yeah, that's when you see the Zenyatta's come out for the Discord is one of the best ways to get rid of Wrecking Ball, right? The Brig stun with just some damage with the Discord really stops the ball in its tracks. So
yeah, I mean, Discord Orb stays as well until the ball's been out of line of sight for 3 seconds. So it's annoying. It means that the ball has to spend longer out of the fight there. He just doesn't want to be dealing with that extra damage. That means it's tough as well because you don't have a lot of burst healing outside of repair packs, which are better used on your DPS in this comp. So once the ball takes damage, he has to take a breather for a while. I'm 37, pressured there. Punk with a Discord Orb on him right now. We lost all these shielding just there, and Shax, persistent nuisance in the back line here, and up 37 turns around. Shax cannot believe what just happened.
I'm 37 now. Well, once he gets the high ground, he's not pestered by this Tracer. This is when he can really start to do work on the Ashe. But you saw as soon as Hadi goes up to the high ground, there was a stun, the Discord Orb right in his face. There's Zarya trying to even put some damage down from Punk. And then you also kind of save your Zarya bubbles for your ball when the ball goes into the backline. Ball really working with Tracer to try and pick up a kill. So Boston gets a hold there, kick things off. Really good start as well because now they're going to have some key ultimates coming online.
Indeed. Pulse Bomb there for Valentine, which may help, but crucially those Transcendences are becoming even closer. I mean, the high ground is where the Uprising want to be. The Spitfire, no, if they want to clear them off, they need to send Hardy there, but he doesn't want to deal with the Discord Orb and all the rest there. Myunbong helps get rid of Shax, and so I mean, the Spitfire get declawed before they can really start fighting, and this is starting to look reminiscent of the early stages of Temple of Anubis, Matt.
Yeah, and now you have to wait here if you're the London Spitfire. So we'll see everybody get back together. This did allow, London, just be a time to get up to a Transcendence, just some kind of damage at range.
Okay.
And this time now it's Rippa who opens things up. So Bo Zen's back-to-back fight opening it up. That'll be a Transcendence to clear out the mines.
Much harder to deal with Shax now. He might have a bit more freed reign. Punk's gone down here, so Valentine probably thinks, do I even bother pulse bombing this? Unlikely, as Hardy chases him down with the grapple hook. And that'll be a Spitfire take here. Again, they take a while to warm up here, like their namesake maybe, but once they get going, they look better.
Yeah, and it's a pick from range from Rippa to open things up. I believe that's on I'm37. You lose a lot of the long-range damage with the Ash. Good Transcendence because Stand 1 immediately goes in and drops the minefield on everybody from the London Spitfire as they try and move towards that left-hand side. Transcendence from Rippa ends up breaking all those mines, allows them to push out onto the point. A
little maybe unintended side effect of the Zarya shield is that it actually forces a reapplication of Discord. Like if you shield your ball, I mean, the Discord orb gets cleansed off and has to be put back on, and if you're not really attentive, sometimes you forget to just stick it back on the ball. Rip it down, though. Myeonbong finds him. Looks like it was a salvo of orbs that really helped secure that kill, but the payload will make it at least to this corner here.
And you just have Valentine there, just trying to contest. Doesn't want to give up even more payload progress, especially getting closer towards the bridge. That would allow London to just kind of rotate the high ground, as that is one headshot and done there. It's Hybrid. Picks up 2 kills here to kick off the fight.
Yeah, looking very, very good as soon as he was subbed in here. A lot of pressure on Myeonbong now, who won't be able to regenerate the shield while he's burning. He'll need active healing. I think Faith threw him a repair pack there. Had to. He would have been screeching for that. But again, Myeonbong's very low once more. Here's Punk's Graviton Surge now, but that'll be a good follow-up for Valentine there. Pulse Bomb connection now, continuing the trend of a good partnership between him and Punk. And again, Myeonbong can't peek out. This is frustrating for the Zenyatta player.
You're not able to get Hybrid completely set up on the high ground, though, just yet. Like, you're picking up kills, both teams kind of trading back and forth, but you're not able to push, get him out onto the bridge. That's when he can really start to do work, right? You pick up some kills. If you're London, you start to move the cart, you get under the bridge, he takes pole position up here on the high ground. You're able to get up some kills, as we take a look here from Valentine's POV. Yet again, grab, pulse bomb.
Clean.
Excellent combo there, yeah, clean.
The Spitfire now had the rally. I think they want the high ground pretty badly. Hardy, okay, most of those mines should get cleared by Myeonbong in Transcendence now, so I don't think he gets much for that ultimate. Both Wrecking Balls are in fact traded out after the fact. But Hybrid goes to the low ground this time. Normally he's trying to vie for that sort of purge position, but he'll move the cart along. The Uprising playing pretty passively here, but Myeonbong has better high ground control now whilst Hybrid plays the low ground. Looks like he coach gunned himself back up there here. Cart is moving incrementally, and Valentine's looking for another way in.
Yes, Boston will take the high ground. They'll allow the cart to move up a little bit as they just drop down one player to contest. As Rippa being very careful. Can't die here with the Transcendence.
Worried about Valentine, who doesn't have a pulse bomb, but still is dangerous. Hybrid here, who seems to be on tracer duty as Robert Kellex has gone down. Not ideal. This means that Valentine can get a little bit closer now. No shield bash to worry about, but Punk too low. Here's the Bob used on the point. The Graviton Surge is there, and I don't even know if Rippa needed that Transcendence, but Spitfire needed this next checkpoint, so they'll spend what they have to get it.
You probably could have saved the Transcendence, but I think just to make sure you get it, if you're London, you end up popping it. Maybe they even want to potentially switch off of the composition here. Is no ultimates available for the London Spitfire. Bob here for I'm37, so Bob can just run in, contest the cart. Also no like sleep dart or anything for the Bob, so you either have to burn him down or just, avoid him, just line of sight him. So they do set up I'm37 up on the high ground.
Hardy would like to put that to a stop, but really just rolls through. It's a cursory greasing and then back to business. Bob used here. This does split off the Spitfire somewhat, but it doesn't look great. It's a trade at least ultimately in kills. I'm37 is down, so the Spitfire fight doggedly for that high ground. They at least get the really exacerbating factor of that high ground, and I'm 37, but Valentine is still that large, causing problems for Hardy. He's trying to swat away the Tracer. We'll take the health pack now.
He's trying to play for the health pack. That was
well, there's no burst healing, right? You have to play for the health pack so much more as Wrecking Ball in this comp.
I'm 37 at the Widowmaker here.
Commissioner just got rolled.
He's able to get 1 kill coming out of the spawn, but that's it.
Transcendence here again. It's Minesweeper duty on that Windows 95 Pentium PC, of course. Valentine there just cleans up Ripper here. So the Uprising now getting value out of this Tracer, much more. I'm 37's Widow can't peek too far, but it's also pretty hard to access the Widow for the Spitfire, man. It's really Hardy that can, has to go quite a long way to get there.
Yeah, it's either Hardy or Shax, right? Shax has to just make a beeline for it, which takes out some of the Tracer damage to some of the players in the back line, but to be London, start moving the cart here. Shax gets on it as we go in OT.
All right, decent energy generation for Punk there, but he doesn't have a personal bubble right now. Could be dangerous. Shaq's really harassing the front line right now, but Hardy is the one that goes down. The Discord Orb and Shield Bash combo works. Stationary target is all too easy for I'm37 to secure. Pulse Bomb thrown in and yet another one for I'm37. Now the Transcendence doesn't look nearly as good here for Ripper as he's lost another teammate. Molfig is down. I'm37 sits pretty in the back line and looks like, yes, a Spitfire receiver Valentine there. Both Shax and Molfig go down at the end of the round.
Sorry, but pretty good offense though from London. That is a significant push of the payload, especially after their initial offense on a point A wasn't great. It looked like you mentioned potentially like a Temple of Anubis repeat, but they're able to get it over the line, you know, on point A, and then obviously move it all the way through. So we'll see what the Boston Uprising do here on their offense. Can they match this? It seems like seems like to me at least, like there's a lot of momentum, or at least momentum starts to feel like it's going London's way in this series.
This is where it definitely got slowed down a lot more. I'm 37 on the Widow, able to do a lot of work there, able to double down. And you can see the impact that the Zenyatta has here and just how important it is that they respectively stay alive. That's kind of what the Ashe is primarily looking for. Can I pressure an enemy Zen out of line of sight? And that'll obviously prevent him not only using his orb, but also being able to, sort of as frequently just change up those Harmony targets. I think the lack of burst healing here outside of ultimates is such an interesting facet of this comp. It requires like your Tracer and Wrecking Ball to have all those health packs memorized and have them, frequently using them to stay relevant.
Yeah, and I mean Tracer obviously has a really good survivability with the recall. Same with Wrecking Ball with the adaptive shields and then the Zarya bubbles, but it's not health, right?
Sure. It's effective.
I'm37 goes for a jump shot. Nothing home, so he'll go over and switch to Ashe now. So I want to see how Hardy plays this on defense. I think the ball on defense is one of the harder things to play. You just be punished so easily.
It probably looks a lot like that though, right? Just trying to make sure you can keep staking your claim to the high ground, making it really hard for the Uprising to establish a foothold here. Hardy just pressures, knocks people off the high ground. Maybe he sort of is the follow-up on the dive here. Good drop down here for Stand 1, but he gets stuck with the Discord Orb, and yeah, Shax is able to trace him down after he dropped to the low ground. He probably took a little bit too much damage on the high ground after the Shield Bash came in, but that's a pick for you. Shax is down. Now Myunbong gets to play a little bit more aggressive, maybe even looking for the Ashe at longer ranges.
Yeah, getting rid of the Tracer is huge because the Tracer is a lot of the damage that comes in with the Wrecking Ball. So Wrecking Ball is not going to be able to finish off anybody on his own. Almost has to wait for the Tracer to get in position with him again.
Unless they get a big dynamite from their Ashe. But really, yeah, there's not really any follow-up or additional damage.
Yeah.
So the high ground is Stand 1 once more. No one up there this time, so Spitfire have conceded that position. Harmony Orb there. Annoying to deal with that on a Tracer. Hybrid falls, and Valentine is doing so much work. I mean, repair packing a Tracer constantly is so frustrating, especially if you're an enemy Tracer. You really can't kill them at all. Point. Boston Uprising, they capture it here midway through the fight, so this will give them a nice little bit of extra progress, and they've got a whopping 5 minutes on the clock here for this second stage.
Yeah, you're annoyed about the armor packs on the Tracer, but there's also usually the Harmony Orb too. So you have the Harmony Orb on the Tracer and getting armor packs. It's very difficult in those Tracer 1v1s, even in the, I mean, even almost more difficult in the Ashe 1v1s, right? Ashe not really excels at close range combat when the Tracer gets in there. It needs to land like a headshot to basically just like the one tap onto the Tracer to deal with her.
Hardy, again, just trying to use a third-person view to look around here and see if he's going to be running into a Brigitte or if he were to push up any further, and that's a beautiful headshot from I'm37. This is definitely going to yield some extra progress here. Bob has also been removed, so much of Spitfire's stall potential is now off of the table. I'm37 up on the siege tank now, as he is, I guess, a human trebuchet. And Valentine will be minding the cart right now. Pulse bomb, though. What a good reason to give up chaperoning duties. Valentine, it's the call of the bloodlust that reaches out to him, and he just steps forward, plonks that pulse bomb in, and the Spitfire now, they're going up against a heck of a big time bank. This is going to be scary for London, Matthew.
5:12 on the clock here. This is what feels like an eternity. You know, I mean, you have players get the front spawn. Oh, supports too. You're going to lose both of them here. That's brutal.
Look at the ult charge. Look at the ult charge. 65% already for Valentine, not to mention the rest of his team that benefit from staggering the Spitfire, whilst, by the way, the cart was moving. So it's past this first corner already. And Spitfire realize now that they're going to have to cycle and ration these ultimates very effectively if they're going to hang on in this map.
And even if you're Boston, like if Rippa were to get a Transcendence, just force it out in one fight and then go back with that pulse bomb grab combo, and you're good to go. I mean, you see how close the card is to the box of victory. That'll be a Bob to kick things off to just open up some space.
Okay, Graviton. Okay, Hardy's just sitting here. He's like, I have to basically stall out here. I can try and follow up on the Graviton surge here, but I'm really just going to use my bulk to try and keep my team in this one. Nice minefield, though. It is, in every sense of the word, a zoning ultimate, and that's what it's intended for right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't last forever. The mines are removed, and the Boston Uprising absolutely dominate the Spitfire on Blizzard World, Matt. It's a map we rarely see such fast attacking times, but the Spitfire just got absolutely minced.
Yeah, I mean, that was not very close. You know, London put together a good offense, but on defense, there was just about nothing. Nothing there from London on defense. Just immediately high ground control. Valentine with the big pulse bomb kills into the grab. The minefield from Hadi at the end pretty much just delay the inevitable. Would have been almost like, close to 5 minutes on the clock in the bank if that didn't come through. But
Christ, Matt, it's just a team that's nailing the fundamentals. There's nothing, it's not rocket science to go for a pulse bomb Graviton surge combo or to have an Ashe that's just popping off or to, stave off a wrecking ball, right? It is really the basics that the Boston Uprising are delivering on right now. And it's that fundamental strength that makes it so hard for London to even just exist in the same the power ranking tier as them presently. Very one-sided map, but this has been a back-and-forth series so far, so let's see if the Spitfire can stay alive in the series and force a map 5. Stick around, map 4 on the other side of the break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Well, the pressure's on right now, Matthew. The London Spitfire, I mean, they are in a position where they drop this series. As far as the May Melee is concerned, they are done. It's the Uprising looking to play spoiler here and force another team to join them in purgatory. That is, teams that are unable to compete in the knockouts on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think it would be a bit of a disappointing start to the London Spitfire season. Like we talked about in the pre-game, a lot of us thought that this team would be, you would kind of higher ranked than, let's say, like Paris Eternal. They're the other European team in Overwatch League. Just hasn't really clicked with London just yet. I also think there's probably something to say that there's way more metas and different compositions that have been played here in the May Melee than even I expected. I expected a lot of different, just kind of like rush comps. But we've seen a lot, right? Double shield, we've seen, rush, we've seen double bubble, a lot of different variations, which seems map dependent, which maybe London wasn't expecting. Maybe I know a lot of the teams in Europe, right, like to play just rush. Maybe a lot of their scrim partners play that. Done not a ton of game time playing against people who play double bubble or other types of comps at the highest level. So I think as the season goes on and we have metas stabilize and normalize, I think potentially you'll see London's just play get better.
I think that these two teams as well are probably learning plenty from one another in this series, right? We've seen them, especially in London, actually play, quite happy to flex between sort of a very Reinhardt-centric composition. We know that Hardy often looks at his best when he's able just to, really control the flow of the game on Reinhardt. And then, we saw a very different composition. A comp that I'm seeing a ton of in the APAC games as well is that Wrecking Ball spin on a Winston setup with the Zenyatta in there. And it's fascinating because it's kind of a higher risk composition, right? You just don't have as reliable healing throughput. You kind of sacrifice that for like extra damage and ability to deal with the enemy Wrecking Ball, for example. So it kind of makes for a more volatile gameplay, right? There's situations, in my opinion, Matt, where I feel like we get to see the individual skill aspect really increase because for tank players, their judgment is sorely tested when they don't have just buckets of healing to douse themselves in whenever they go too far forward.
Yeah, exactly. When you're a little bit more susceptible to just getting blown up as a tank, you're tested and positioning, especially tested a lot. So London on defense will actually play that ball composition again. It's quite interesting because some teams and a lot of the teams that I've seen, especially here on Dorado, opt for the Winston setup on defense. No shield even to potentially kind of play in that choke or up on the high ground. Not a lot of cover for your McCree. So I wonder if Boston sees this. And I think Boston, they'll be almost like happy that they see this type of competition coming out from the London Spitfire on D.
Sure.
I mean, they're going to have a huge advantage in terms of healing output with the Ana, right? Pretty good survivability even with Ana.
Their ability to blow Hardy up, though, seems a little bit less good, right?
But I feel like what they'll do is you'll just try and survive, right, with the Ana and the break through the damage, let's say Hadi and Shaxx put down, and you have stand one, go up into the back line with this Tracer and just be able to live forever with some Zarya help too, and just play that long game, because the healing out for the Boston Uprising with the Ana in the mix versus, the Zen break is going to be higher.
Stand one to the high ground.
What do they do about this? Like, there's not like a way for the ball to easily counter dive, right?
No.
Like, there's no way for him to kind of traverse up there with ease. So it makes it very difficult for the ball to like peel for the rest of the team.
Stand one gets caught there. That was, I think, flashbang shield bash, by the way, both of those. So pretty hard to deal with that if you're Winston. Zarya bubble or otherwise. That gets blown up pretty darn quickly. So it's a good chance for the Spitfire here to sort of dig their heels in a little bit more. They're pretty reluctant to make use of the high ground based on where the cart is right now, so that does allow the Boston to advance their position on the map.
High ground controlled here for Boston. So you have I'm37 on the Ashe. I mean, he's going to outrange Hybrid here too, but where can he get position? Seems like Hybrid doing a nice job just playing out of the line of sight of the Ashe.
He's about to be pressured here. You're dead. Back to spawn for Valentine. Not a romantic Hybrid is, I guess. Punk there falls to Rippy, and the Spitfire have the numbers. So the nano boost for Stand 1 is short-lived and his backline gets absolutely decimated. So the London Spitfire looking much more comfortable here as these two compositions kind of interact in their own ways. Despite, you know, constant pressure from the Uprising. I think it sucks for them that Valentine falls so quickly and doesn't do anything that far.
Yeah, and the deterrent for Stand 1 is obviously the Discord orb coming through. And what we've seen, at least so far, is, you know, Hybrid doing a good job defending himself when the dive comes in, but instead of the ball coming back, you have Shax coming in with the Discord and just pressuring Stand 1 every time. I mean, even here in the choke, Stand 1 was down on the hot low ground, he gets discorded, and Shax jumps right on top of him.
Here's the Bob. Yumdong in trouble. Hardy pressuring now. I think it had to be a self-fighter grenade, and it's still not going to be enough to keep him alive. Discord orb on an Ana. That's gross. Faith absolutely ruined. That card is moving forward, though, but yeah, Shax realizes the clarion call goes out to the rest of the Spitfire, and they're back.
I'd love to see a clip of that, because Hardy, I think, drops the minefield in the back. They lose a support right away, and Faith ends up using Rally.
And gets headshot.
And at least on the minimap, it looked like he was just sat in the corner and used Rally and was stuck with the mines, and then ended up just coming out dying. That's a brutal way to end up using your Rally. That would be quite nice to have here in this situation.
I want to point out that I reckon these two teams might be at least tied, or might have some of the most map 5 between teams in the Overwatch League, outside of maybe like Seoul and Shanghai. Back in Season 1, in Season 2, they went head-to-head all the time, and it went all the way. Valentine goes down early, and the reason I say that is it's looking ever more likely now as Shax is being unleashed on the backline of the Uprising, who once again are just completely battered back. And with 13 seconds left, this has been a dismal showing on Dorado.
Yeah, and that was a really nice read from Molfig, who I think has had himself a really good series for London. This will be Transcendence, desperation grab thrown in here from Punk. Players just kind of trickling onto the point, but Molfig was able to land a grab in the previous fight onto, yeah, I mean, this looks very over. He was able to land a grab in the previous fight onto Myungbong in Faith as they were split off by the bridge. So to be able to long range grab, you're not worried because there's no Diva on the other side or Sigma or anybody. And you're able to get both supports. I mean, that is a huge play.
I don't see Valentine getting any value at all, really, in that round. I think Hybrid tracks him on the right-hand side of the map from this perspective. And then when he's trying to dodge around the pillar in the middle of the map, you see he just gets his head torn off there. The British national really turning up here in this particular series, right? We don't always know what to sort of expect from him when he gets sort of subbed in. After, you know, initially it was blasé. But he looks very, very good. The McCree looks really safe. And look, you're playing a composition, right, that features Hardy on the Wrecking Ball without any, like, direct support outside of maybe a Zaya bubble here and there. So, you know, you have to be pretty self-sufficient in defending that backline in general. I'm just very impressed here for the Spitfire and how they deal with Boston's attempts at starting up fights and getting early picks.
And this is interesting for Boston on defense. They'll play the Winston and the Zarya, which is like typically, you know, what you see here on D. They'll play Ashe, Echo, and they'll play a Mercy. So no like support ult like a Sound Barrier or Rally, Transcendence, anything along those lines. But they're gonna, and not a Tracer to help Stand 1, but a lot of damage boosted long range damage with the Echo and the Ashe.
Looks like the Uprising might try and make as much use of this high ground as possible here with this setup. Stand 1. Expect him just to drop down, get a bubble if he needs to, get back out. Maybe the Spitfire try and take the high ground by wrapping. Looks like there was a consideration for a moment. It's Hybrid on the Widowmaker now. Not much to look at presently. And a nasty biotic grenade onto Reaper and Kellex respectively means the Spitfire just have to pause here for a moment. But there's no pressure really from the Uprising.
No, you just have the cart being moved here by Shax. Boston has to respect the Widowmaker here, so backs out completely from the high ground. But they've given up this position that they wanted.
Matt,
like now if they start playing the low ground here by the stairs, you're going to give this whole sightline to the Widowmaker to control the choke.
Lower pressure than deep space right now, the Boston Uprising. They can turn up the heat here with the nano boost onto Stand 1, but they're waiting for the Spitfire to commit themselves. And London honestly are pacing themselves somewhat. Hybrid, okay, I think that grapple hook doesn't really connect and Stand 1 just ruins him.
mean, even if it did, he was dead. As the nano boost comes in, but not completely over. Shax gets both supports. Hottie's still alive. I mean, Shaq's just dominating here on the Tracer. This is a lot of what we saw last season as he is popping off.
This is where you want to see him. In stand one, yeah, I mean, we know what this guy can do on the Winston, but Shax has a pulse bomb. It doesn't have stand one's name on it because, frankly, it's not necessary. The London Spitfire force on map 5 here as the Boston Uprising go quiet in the most important map of the series.
The last map, Boston on their offense just absolutely rolls through London. No contest whatsoever from London. They set a tremendous time. And then now on the next map on Dorado, they're not even able to get point A, and London just rolls right through them. You know, Game 5 in this series is literally anybody's game. It's going to be a complete toss-up.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams, looks like their map pools don't really overlap, but you know, when it comes to control, like you said, anything could happen. This has been a wild one. Frankly, been ridiculous. So stick around and see the wacky ending to the Uprising versus the Spitfire in map 5 after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
Yes, upon viewing this series so far, scientists are left puzzled and some also nano-boosted after the London Spitfire managed to even things back up on Dorado, which looks really one-sided. Now, okay, we understand that sometimes teams' map pools can differ greatly, but between Hybrid and Escort, there isn't a huge difference in terms of how the map type plays out. It looked like, though, the Spitfire looked way more practiced, Matthew, on Dorado. They look dominant. Hybrid looks incredibly good on hit scan, and frankly, the DPS from the Boston Uprising were non-existent.
Yeah, that one was tough. I mean, I think it was an entire team collapse there for Boston. Like, they didn't really, nobody played great overall. Blase comes in here for Shax. So Shax really pops off there at the end on Tracer. We go into Lijiang Tower, which is the final map in the series. You think they bring in Blase for some of his flexibility. He can play the really like a Doomfist here, which is pretty good on certain points.
We have also seen a ton of Wrecking Ball from these two teams so far in this series. No reason to expect anything different. It also means that we're unlikely to see a pick like Symmetra actually played in earnest on a map like this, because it's unlikely there's going to be that many shields available. But this is what it comes down to. As this circus ends its convention. One of these two teams will stand victorious. If the London Spitfire win, well, they still have a chance of making it into knockouts on Sunday. If not, though, it'll be both these teams' fates sealed for the May Melee, and they will have to look on from the sidelines as the rest of NA duke it out for a chance to head off to Hawaii for what won't be a holiday. I'll tell you that right now. It'll be quite the stoush between NA and APAC. So we head to Lijiang Tower for map number 5.
We'll see what they sub in Blase for, which obviously has to be a tough sub to make. No, how Shax just played on that last map, and how prevalent you can play Tracer. You can play Tracer in a lot of different scenarios here, but see what they decide to put Blase on. Right now, hovering over the Junkrat, so potentially could see Junkrat in the mix. You do see him on certain points here on Lijiang.
The J Silly on Lijiang. You'd love to see it.
I mean, there's so many different comps you can play on this map specifically. The points just vary so much, right? Between Garden, Control Center, you can play so many different things, which is why you probably bring Blase in. So London looks to be playing the Rein Zarya. Rein Zarya with the Symmetra, so you will stay on the Symmetra for both teams. It'll be May, though, for the Boston Uprising, as they'll play double shield with an Orisa.
Right, Hybrid well positioned to get tons of value out of the Symmetra for exactly that reason. I'm 37, though, brought one as well, and looks a little bit better in the early stages of this fight. Hardy and Blase have already gone down here, and the Uprising speed boost to the point. They get there a little quicker. It looked like the Spitfire, Matt, they kind of land awkwardly as they drop down from their teleporter onto the point.
Yeah, it looked to be an odd position they ended up dropping into. The May wall separates some players. And obviously, the tankiness of Orisa plus Reinhardt, the ability for the halts, fortify, just the survivability is Molfig now will go over to Sigma. So another shield in the mix, double shield for both teams. The teleporter actually put down there for London, backs up Boston, but they don't end up taking the TP. So just using the threat of the teleporter to buy them some space, trying to work their way onto the point.
It gives them some, but you can see that the Spitfire is still a little unsure about how to approach this extremely durable setup. Here we go, Amplification Matrix comes out, Myunbong desperately trying to keep his two tanks alive, but he can only heal one of them at a time right now. Symmetra Wall comes out, and here is that Immortality field. Blase looking for a little bit of action with the Riptire, and he gets nothing. Again, another one-sided fight for the Uprising, and this series has been a Newton's cradle, an absolute seesaw of team dominance. I can't keep up.
Well, what a crazy fight that is. An Amp Matrix from both sides, a double Symmetra wall from both sides. You had a Riptire used there. Somehow Stand 1 is able to get through all the walls and whatnot, and then end up with a Shatter through that. Yeah, I mean, this has not been good for London thus far, as Blase now on the Doomfist. Just trying to get into the point, maybe with a rollout, knock some players up, displace, and get a one-shot.
Hardy's shield taking an absolute belting from long range, and here's a supercharger. There's no way to Spitfire challenge this. The wall might not give Kellex a choice, sitting against ice.
And that is a halt, and then just the supercharged shots that come in from Valentine. As you may not feel like you're going to get such a bad push here at the end. There's Kellex is
Where's
also
the sound barrier?
Sound barrier, yeah. I mean, you could see a halt into a blizzard here and just be over.
Flux, unfortunately, uncharacteristically, not looking good for Molfig, but Blase gets into the fight quickly, finds a kill, but is traded out by Stand 1. Here's that sound barrier now for Kellex. He comes in at the right time. Myunbong has an amplification matrix, but he's dealing with the pressure right now. Has no chance to use that ultimate, so the Spitfire spend big. They hit heavy, and they manage to take the point back at the death.
They absolutely needed to just drop everything there. As the blizzard comes down, you end up losing Valentine, and there's a teleporter in position from Hybrid that enables them to get out of it to the point. So saves a few players there for the London Spitfire. As Youngbun has this Amp Matrix, probably Amp Matrix from both sides. Valentine with a wall to block off Rippas. Maybe even think about using Symmetra Barrier. It's really on the Shatter from Stand 1. Can he land another big one?
And Matrix TP used by Stand 1 to reposition a probing Shatter. I'll give him that. Doesn't find too much there on that pick, though. Hardy's going to go down. Blaze falls, so in Stand 1 now can keep swinging that hammer, and he does. Hybrid is felled. Stand 1 seen better days right now. He's wondering where those bullets are coming from, but there's not really anyone left on the Spitfire now. I think it was Ripper trying to keep things alive, but we knew what would happen really when the Spitfire spent so heavily to stay in the round at 99%. They didn't really do enough early on here to justify a competitive round in the end. Now we'll see a late meteor strike. Yeah, okay, Valentine should deal with that one pretty comfortably. Blase is down and that overtime is expired.
Some nice shatters by Stand 1. The one at the end doesn't really connect with anybody, but the sound barrier able to keep him in Valentine alive on the May. Just a lot of survivability on the point. Nobody really there for the London Spitfire. Boston goes 1 point away from taking the series. What do we see here for Boston? Echo Tracer makes a ton of sense for them. What are they? This is the first time really seeing a lot of Rein Zarya throughout the series. We've really seen a lot of Rein Diva, Rein Sigma, the Rein Zarya.
This is a double bubble support line. Okay, that makes more sense now. So no Rein.
You play this with the Tracer, that makes a ton of sense, right? So yeah, they'll bring the Tracer into the mix. Symmetra yet again here for London as they want to play. This is point control, Mitch. The Symmetra turrets get set up. The May, Sigma, Rein really kind of anti-dive. We'll see how Boston goes about trying to break this.
Arguably a good look, or one of the better looks for the London Spitfire based on the players. And there
a grenade.
Oh my, no healing available for the Spitfire right now. And it doesn't matter anyway, the support's got taken down first. That is classic Myunbong right there. Very driven, very outspoken player, but when he gets on the Ana, it's all business. Keeps his mouth shut and lands the nades like that. That is filthy.
And that was like, what, a 4-player biotic grenade? You're wondering how you break that setup. If you're the Boston Uprising,
how does he get that
a good
over
nade
the
like that will be able to do it. I think he may have been from like the choke almost, like from the side. Because when Stand 1 gets onto the point, Valentine actually wraps around towards the London Spitfire side and uses their window to start putting damage down and backs them up a little bit, where potentially it's the biotic grenade from the side that sets it off, as Hybrid now will be playing the McCree. So go McCree with the Batiste. So this is still very control oriented. We want the Boston Uprising to be the team that is the aggressor, as London will get on the point.
I'm 37, definitely dodges a potential shield bash, and Immortality Field goes down there. Good timing, because that's just when Stand 1 was starting to tear the Spitfire limb from limb. Hybrid's already gone down, crucially with the Kree, and these flashes off the table here, and wow, the Spitfire, they had an Immortality Field for some time, but a lot of damage, and it's so hard for them to really play close together and benefit here from the AoE-based healing of Kellex and Reaper when Stand 1 is just the cat amongst the pigeons, knocking them all aside.
London really maybe only one good attempt at this left.
Man, what a way for this
rally
to end, man.
Rally duplicate grab here potentially for the Boston Uprising. Oh my god, look at this. Myunbong with a big biotic grenade, and then they're going to push in.
Ripper down already. Yes, they lose Valentine, but the lion's share of the healing being off the table, you think that would be big. But the sound barrier is there to keep the Spitfire purring along despite losing a lot of that healing throughput.
Even losing the fight, though, for Boston's not the worst. Because in a reactionary fashion, they had to use Gravitic Flux. I mean, when you have that many players get biotic grenade, you're in Final Fight territory, you pretty much, and you know the push is going to come, you have to pop everything. You pretty much know that is it.
No, we're going to do it anyway.
Sound barrier, Gravitic Flux, yeah, and Blizzard there. Zahadi's put asleep here, and then gets biotic grenade. This is going to be Valentine duplicating the Sigma, trying to get this Gravitic Flux.
I mean, the follow-up here could be ridiculous. Gravitic Flux to follow up the Graviton Surge. Okay, Molting goes down. I'm 37, can't get away though. That's some sharp shooting there from Hybrid to get rid of him. Kellex in a good position here just to shepherd the rest of his team forward now. Myunbong has to use a defensive biotic grenade, but with Hybrid off the map, Valentine can play a little bit more audaciously. Losing Myunbong here hurts, and Faith looks like he's looking for a quick exit here. Yeah, not much he can do. Pretty frustrating there. He's looking for the Mega Pack and he can't get there.
Well, yeah, and he's moving over towards here. It's Stand 1. What? He's going to get a 2 with the Primal Rage. I was wondering, I was like,
He's
why
not
is
done.
Faith playing from that position? That's going to be 3 for Stand 1.
Punk in trouble, but Stand 1 is going to return to the scene in a moment. Still, it was a situation where the Uprising are quite split up, despite the heroics of their main tank. Stand 1, yeah, that's 4 kills for him in this fight, but can he do more? Can he do enough to end this series here? Over the top he goes, Blase gets shield bash there, and Faith's shield is low. Blase with a sound barrier now means he can keep going with the endothermic blaster. Faith is down. Stand 1 also removed, and the London Spitfire is staying in this one, but only just 79% and counting. One more fight left in this round, and the Spitfire seems like they're not done, Matt.
Absolutely crazy turn of events.
What?
As that looked like Stand 1 was going to be able to turn it, and you've lost it 37. What is this game right now? Myungbong trying to farm up this nano boost here for the end.
Deadeye from Hybrid.
Wall.
Defensive. Through the M-Matrix, no less. Stand 1's down.
What
Key
in the
piece
world?
missing. I'm 37. Headbutts a Deadeye bullet and comes off second best. So did the Uprising here, and Matt, it's going all the way. It is going all the way to 3 rounds in this 5-map series.
What in the world was just that whole sequence of events there at the end? London looks like they win a fight. You just had Valentine and Faith there alive. There, Faith looks like he's trying to jump off the map, reset. Stand 1's Primal raging in, knocks 3 players off the side. Then it looks like they're turning it. Then London comes back, ends up, getting some picks. So this has just been a bunker series. So now we get the Junkrat again here.
Jay Silly in the battle cow.
This time, though, yeah. Jay Silly in the battle count for Boston. I
bet you that was the name of Doa's high school band.
Still in play.
Blase.
In a band, that's pretty funny.
Immortality field. For both sides, by the way. I'm 37 traders. So Kellex is down here, but I think the Uprising, yeah, they're committed to this fight either way. The London Spitfire weren't going to be escaping with the loss of their Lucio as it was, and Valentine close already to a Riptide.
Ever since the April Fool's patch where they made Orisa fast, everyone started to use her as an aggressive rush tank. So they just bring her in here. She's really utilized for the halts here. The halts with like the Junkrat mines and just the Junkrat damage. Really effective here.
Spitfire still have the Junkrat of their own, but you notice that the Uprising are a little bit more dispersed here as they're able to play over the point a bit wider. The Spitfire have to funnel through what could be a bottleneck here. Look at the damage that, someone like I'm 37's getting right now. Hybrid's just going to send his kids off to school there. Drops the turrets away. Halt, you see it being used there to draw all the Spitfire together, and Valentine now is going to let it rip. It ain't Beyblade, baby. It's going to hit much harder. That's cheeky. I saw that from Valentine. He clipped through the architecture and sort of sees what's on the other side of that Riptire.
So now you start to push back in if you're the London Spitfire. I'm so confused by the M-Matrix they used, by the way. There was nobody on the point. They used the M-Matrix by the point. Stand 1 just stood behind the pillar. There's still the Junkrat damage comes in from the side. They really get nothing with it.
Stand 1. Shatter available. Shield's looking worse for where Molford gets a gigantic kinetic grasp. He's close to a gravitic flux himself, but it's 61% and counting here in the up. And the Spitfire haven't really made any significant inroads towards capturing this point. There'll be a Riptide from Blase, but he's... Oh, no! Stand 1! No one able to stand after that. He steps back, Immortality field down for him. He's going to start swinging with the hammer. It's going to be a gravitic flux, but the sound barrier timing was very, very good. Good enough, in fact, to put the Uprising in position to end it all here. Blase Riptide looking a little sad right now, and the Uprising still stands strong.
All right, so you got one more fight here if you're the London Spitfire. You have a Shatter of your own. Hybrid has the Symmetra wall. This would be a good time to use the M-Matrix if you Rippa. You can actually use it here to push them off of the point. You have a player advantage already.
Punk getting zapped here by Hybrid. I guess it's a cattle prod now as well.
They have to back up. That's the good use of the M-Matrix. The first time they did it, they dropped it down in a position where Boston didn't even have to play on the point significantly. What?
That's a remote mine through the left-hand side room. They're too close together. Valentine's able to punish the fact that the Spitfire filter into a choke, even though they're in control of the point. And the Riptide claims Hardy. It could all be over here. The Spitfire make a crucial mistake at a critical point in the round. Valentine, 4 kills in that particular fight. and the London Spitfire are absolutely struggling here. It's going to be a Symmetra barrier now as Kellex gets halted straight into the hammer. Punk finishes him off there. Valentine keeps an eye on the left-hand side, but Stand1 has fallen to Hybrid. Looks like the wall doing some work, forcing the Uprising's main tank to push up too far. I can't believe this is happening. Blaze's fallen though. Ripper's immortality field has now fallen. Hybrid charged up though, forces I'm37 away. That's a recall now used. The Battle Cow could be in trouble. The charge comes in. Punk didn't have the Fortify available and gets burnt down. The Fire Strike finishes the job. I'm37 in overtime, trying to keep it going, but Stand1 steps up, gets rid of Hybrid. Wrecking Ball now going to come for the pile driver on the point, but Molfig is going to be under pressure in a moment. Good healing for Stand1 coming there. Throws his shield up in a critical moment just to stay in the fight. 30%, that's all the Spitfire have got so far, and I'm37 falls to a Riptire. That'll relieve some of the pressure on the back line, and now Reaper gets to really churn out that healing. Oh no, that's not where you want to be, Kellex. Very close to death is the Lucio, and Stand1 follows up and gets that kill. It's Reaper that goes down in the end. Still in overtime as Hardy finds Valentine. Here's a shatter. Punk had Fortify at the time, so wasn't too bothered. Hardy got hit with one himself. Stunned up by Stand1's charge, and Kellex goes down. It's a Wrecking Ball. That's all the Spitfire have to work with, and that's too little, too late in the day. And the Uprising ended in an exciting 5-map affair.
I mean, that last fight, it felt like it could have ended way earlier, but London does not give up. A lot of fight in the London Spitfire. It's a tough end to the series for them. I thought Boston looked really good at moments, but then at times just completely like a different team. I think one thing they need to work on moving forward is that consistency. You cannot kind of play that up and down in a series. And if you're London, obviously a really rough stage for you here in the May Melee. But you've shown some good things here towards the end. You played some teams pretty tough. Your rush looks good. I think they just need to add some more to their game, right? We never see like any Winston kind of double level play from the London Spitfire. Really a lot of just double shield or rush.
Absolutely. I think, look, if you're in London's position right now, and you know that it's your map differential, I think that hurts you the most here, and it's the reason why even after only 3 losses, I think that you're mathematically going to be eliminated from being in knockouts in general. But you know, it's tough for them because this series rather, seems like both of these teams have a pretty solid sort of map pool, or quite a few maps where they feel really confident on. It's not often that you get these sort of 5-map series in which the maps inside the series aren't actually close. Like after maybe map number 1, like the control maps are always good. It's a more fundamental brand of Overwatch. These two teams are able just to sort of launch themselves at each other, and we can see how the compositions interact. But the other maps really were really one-sided. This is the kind of series that's really hard to call. It's two teams that are streaky, frankly.
Just a really chaotic series overall, I think, from both teams. But I think it's just kind of where we are in the meta. There's so many different things that teams can play.
Sure. I mean, a player of the match presented by Xfinity here is going to be none other than Valentine, who showed some promising signs in that match against the Justice, of course, on that Tracer. Here we see the Doomfist is definitely less punished. It feels like Valentine is able to get much more involved in these fights, and despite there being a bunch of McCree and like anti-Doomfist tech on the side of the Spitfire, at times they really can't do anything about this guy. The Tracer also looks very good. He's pairing, in that very standard combo with Punk's Graviton Surge very nicely.
Yeah, and I thought Valentine, just his flexibility was huge. I mean, this here at the end, being able to get the double kill with that mine really set them up to take the game breaker.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
We see him play a bunch of Echo as well, which got some decent value in general here. I mean, pretty low deaths considering the final blow sort of ratio there.
I don't know why I thought of the focusing beam kills per 10 minutes. I mean, that is it's a very high number. But yeah, his Echo was extremely impactful, especially when you think back to the first map. I thought his Echo play was quite good. They expect him to be a huge part of the team this season. You're going to need him to really have standout performances. I'm37, I also thought played a crucial part for Boston here today. And then Myungbong on the final map too had really good biotic grenades. But I think over the course of the entire series, Valentine really started to live up some of the hype that they had for him when he came onto the Boston Uprising team.
So Matthew, this gives us our standings now for the Western region. And yes, the Boston Uprising mathematically eliminated from playing in knockouts. And the same now we can say for both the London Spitfire and the Vancouver Titans. those three teams, I think, look, we had middling expectations of them. I think the one team that maybe didn't live up to them, you know, based on their very pre-season power rankings was the Uprising. I think this is a roster that is, frankly, it's just really very, very good. And a roster that stands to get better based off now the competition between someone like Punk and Gabushi when he comes in. So I'm excited to see what they can produce as a team going forward. But for right now, they're done for the month of May.
Yeah, you see with the format, every match is just so important, right? In each tournament, when you only have 4 games, the 4 games plus the map differential is so important. Really punishes a lot of these teams.
And we're going to hear in just a moment here from Danny, who's got a chance to get some words from my fellow countryman and Zarya Dominator. It is Punk. Danny.
Mitchell, Matt, thank you very much. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Game Break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. We're now joined here by Punk from Boston Uprising. Punk, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good after the win. Thank you very much, Danny.
All right. Well, congratulations on your win. Now, my first question is going to be, you're actually one of the few, but like you're the only Western player in the starting 6 for your team. How are you communicating with your teammates in game?
Communicating with the teams mostly in English, or like we've kind of set the scene for an English main communication system. But obviously, I think since the 5 others are Koreans, right? You know, they talk to each other in little smaller dialogues and kind of stuff that's useful to each other. But the main kind of plan in the team is usually spoken in English.
All right. Are there any Korean words that you picked up along the way?
Oh yeah, I've picked up a lot of Korean words. I know "jukka," which means keep going.
Yeah, jukka. Yeah.
Kaja, they all go like when we're about to go for a dive, like kaja, you know, let's go.
Kaja, right?
So I can understand a lot of the words, but yeah.
I mean, like, I feel like if you keep on doing this throughout the whole season, I feel like your Korean will be very, very good by the end of the season.
Yeah.
My next question is going to be, you know, unfortunately, you guys did not qualify for the May Melee, but you guys finally got your first win today. So, what do you think you guys learned from these past 4 matches that you guys played throughout the season so far?
I think we learned how to play in a match environment, because obviously at the start, even before the season, we were pretty hyped up as like the dark horse team. And so everyone knew that we could produce results, but obviously the first 2 games did not show for that at all. Like, we didn't play well. I think that's just nerves and also trying to transfer the practice environment into a match day environment, because obviously there's so many things which are different. So I think after the first weekend, we really focused on just staying calm and doing what we practice, and it worked pretty well for the Washington game. Those were just more small mistakes and, you know, little things that we could fix, but today I think we did good in that for the most part. Obviously, again, there were still slip-ups which caused us to lose the 2 maps, because I think we definitely could have threaded today, but it was mainly just getting into the swing of things for match days.
All right, Punk, thank you so much. That was very insightful, and I loved your answers. Thank you so much for your time on the interview.
Thank you very much.
Good luck throughout the season. I hope to talk to you again. All right, everybody, let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Punk. And of course, Danny, thank you so much for conducting this interview. Punk, what a likable guy. I am so glad we get to see him once more in action. Yeah, right? Like, and it was great to see them perform yesterday against the Washington Justice. Today, a little bit more on the chaotic side, going up against the London Spitfire. So let's actually discuss this very game we just got to witness. Yes, they won 3-2. A little bit too close for comfort. Reinforce, I want to get your thoughts here. You wanted to see great plays from Shax. You got to see some Tracer from Shax. Other than that, who impressed? Who stood out to you?
Well, on this matchup specifically, I think you actually have to give some credit to Valentine. He had a rough duel in that Tracer matchup with Shax, because Shax is a really good Tracer. But I think that Valentine overall, he flexed over to some heroes, and essentially on Lijiang Tower, when he played that Junkrat, he had so much effective input in dictating how these team fights turned out. So that's when you really see the flex player, Valentine, come to life. Overall though, I think it was a good matchup for both teams, because while London Spitfire They lost this one 3-2, but they did still show their strength as a Reinhardt team. They showed some good play overall, specifically on Dorado, where they even played the Zenyatta composition. That was good from the London Spitfire. So they lose this one, but Boston Uprising, they were the better team today. I'm really liking when they're playing this Zenyatta composition like we saw on Blizzard World. And Valentine, he just comes in with the pulse bomb like this, gets up 3k. There's some good team play here from the Boston Uprising, so some promising signs. Again, love the interview, Danny, you had with Punk there as well. I haven't really been critical of Punk because we know he's a good player, but I have been vocal about it's a tough situation for him playing with 5 other Koreans. But he's been consistent throughout the season. He's been showing good gameplay, so I gotta give some credit to Punk. You know, it's been a tough situation for him, but he's showing some good moments. He's going with the flow, and you know, Boston Uprising, they win this first match and can maybe build on this moving forward. So good job to the Boston Uprising.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, London Spitfire now unfortunately didn't secure that victory, but also on their side, there were some great standout performances from individuals. Molfik had an especially great game on Anubis, I believe. Blase also on his Doomfist, of course, impressive as always. So overall, I think both teams did show some signs of life. I also want to very quickly get your thoughts here on seeing a little bit more Wrecking Ball from Stand 1 on the Boston side. Was that just based on the maps, or was that just an adjustment in their game plan?
Yeah, I mean, it is very good, specifically on Blizzard World. Playing Zenyatta Wrecking Ball seems to be the way to go for most of these teams, Zoe. So, not too surprised to see Stand 1 on that Wrecking Ball, but I did like that look, actually, from the Boston Uprising. So if they can play Stand 1 on that Winston or on that Wrecking Ball, and Yonbong having a lot of input from behind with the Ana and the Zenyatta, I think that's a good composition for them, Zoe.
Right on. Well, let's see if we're going to get to see more of that, of course, in our next tournament qualifier phase, however you want to call it, because first up we of course have the May Melee Joust. Exactly. The June Joust is coming up after the May Melee. Now, looking ahead to our next match, the Shock. They will be facing off against our very own Florida Mayhem. I don't know why I just deemed them our very own, but apparently we own them now. Congratulations, us. We did it.
Our very own.
Yeah, but I wanna talk about this upcoming match. Custa, what kind of compositions do you expect or hope to see from either of those teams?
Yeah, I think that's really the main storyline coming into this series right now. Obviously, the Florida Mayhem lean heavily on that OG Winston, Yaki Tracer, Beaky B on that hit scan. That's their bread and butter. That's when they looked so dominant. So the question becomes for the San Francisco Shock, are you going to mirror that? We obviously know they have Smurf, they have Striker, they have the things to respond to that, or do they play their own style, they play their own way? Because we know they can also play the Brawl, they can also play the Wrecking Ball. It's kind of up in the air at this point what the Shock are going to come out with. They did start a little slow, lost to the Houston Outlaws in the opening weekend, so if I'm the San Francisco Shock, or if I'm expecting to see something, they're going to come out firing, they're going to come out fast. I really just want to see the Striker versus Yaki duel though. I think this is like one of the best Tracer duels that we can have in this game right now. This is what all the fans want. If I don't at least get one map of that, I'm going to have a serious word with Krusty.
And you don't want that. If you get an angry, a serious, or even a disappointed Costa, ooh, no thank you.
Angry
Absolutely
letter.
No, thank you.
It's coming, Krusty, if I don't see Striker Tracer. Just letting you know.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Now, gentlemen, it is time for Crunch Time presented by Cheesy Grooves. And